Hello, everybody. It's Kuko back again. Uh, Here's a little something I just kind of whipped up in between Sonic Advance parts. I'd like to call this more of a Let's Reminisce than an outright Let's Play. I typically would like to go for that. Just more so for one-offs, like, say, fighting games or something I don't really intend to do a proper Let's Play with multiple parts. This is mostly with childhood games that I feel like I mean a lot to me personally. Um, Well, they're about to tell you it's Mortal Kombat related, but we'll be covering today Mortal Kombat Trilogy for the PlayStation 1, Sega Saturn, PC, and Nintendo 64. And we don't talk about the Tiger version. I hadn't played this game since I was about, I think I was like 14. I'm 23 now. So the gameplay that you're seeing here is just kind of me getting a little, I guess, an itch to play it. Um, I do go through all of the novice arcade ladder. I leave the AI to normal, so I'm still going to have a pretty bad time. I unlock the bonus menu just to show that here. It's mostly for one-button fatalities, instant aggressor, normal damage, all that stuff. I turn off some fancy graphical effects. I do play Shang Tsung in this, so I do put in limited loads, as in that means I get to choose my characters. I do the normal button combinations for them, and I get to play them. The characters I'll be using are Chameleon, Shang Tsung, and Reptile throughout the arcade ladder. Because, yes, surprisingly enough, I actually can lose in this game. I actually lose at games. Can you believe it? No fucking way. What you do for unlocking Chameleon is the second you hit one of the male ninjas, you hit low punch, high punch, run and block, and hold left and or right, depending on if you're player 1 or player 2. Basically holding back where you're running backwards, or walking backwards. This is one of my personal favorite MK games. I'm a big fan of it. I think it's really fast paced. It's a busted game competitively. Special like the N64 version's the one that's mostly played competitive. We're playing the PS1 version because this is the one I mostly had growing up. But I just fucking kicked Ermac's ass right there. But uh the the N64 versions I know is fucking huge in South America. So Chameleon's whole deal and why I chose him was because I actually want to have a little bit of silliness in the playthrough, but also to kind of give you an idea of like most of the like half the cast to give you a good idea. I do remember this fatality, but like Chameleon every few seconds, unless you're throwing out a special move, will change to any of the male ninjas. That includes Noob Saibot, which is for a few seconds, Smoke, which is for a few seconds, Ermac, Scorpion, Reptile, or Sub-Zero. If you're having if you get the timing for it down, which sometimes I will do, you can intentionally stay as that ninja for another cycle before he changes again. Right now I'm Scorpion. In a few seconds I think I'm gonna be Ermac. Um, the trying to remember. Yeah, no, PS1 version is like this was basically based off of Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. And I guess it almost feels like a very odd mix of like this is kind of almost like those home ports from like the Super Nintendo Mega Drive days, kind of that in its final form, made by the arcade people. The AI in this game as well, Mortal Kombat AI, it's really fucking aggressive and they don't chill out. Um, this is my first time playing the game since about 2014-ish. I was trying to do the second fatality. I couldn't get it to work. That one was always a bit more of a finicky one. He basically zooms around the screen and kind of like smashes the person down. A bunch of bones and guts and bloods fly out. Guts and bloods, yeah, bloods. Blood flies out. But to me, it was like me and my friends would play this a lot. and this is kind of like the definitive classic Mortal Kombat to me. Like this will, like maybe MK2 may be my favorite from a pure mechanic standpoint, but I think, or no, Ultimate MK3 is probably my favorite. I mean, I love MK2, but I think MK3 from at least the competitive sense, I think is the best. I'm very nostalgic for MK2, but well, my first Mortal Kombat was MK3, so I guess I'm pretty. Well, it was actually the Super Nintendo port of MK3. That was the one that had Rain and Noob Saibot playable from the start, basically to kind of make up for the whole not being as good as the arcade version. I pause here because I'm trying to remember my other fatalities because I was looking at a move list real quick just to make sure I even remembered it. With Chameleon, you can use any fatalities that whatever ninja you happen to be. Coming up here, you're going to see Sub-Zero absolutely fucking just destroy me, which is a special kind of funny. Rain's whole thing is that he like shoots out like a weird like weather ball. He can also use lightning. I don't know why I didn't go for lightning here for during the time I was Rain. I guess I was trying to play aggressively and try to rush him down. I switch back to Scorpion. He just this is around the time that the AI starts just reading your inputs, and there's just nothing you can do about it. I was always a big fan of the stage like transitions the for like Mortal Kombat. Whereas then you like uppercut some motherfucker and you just I do love the whoa whoa like you throw the ice puddle down. And this is a brutality. You just get this like this massive combo and just that's a great sound effect, great graphic. But since I lost with Chameleon, I decided to switch over to Shang Tsung. I put on the limited morph, so instead of being able to morph to anybody in the roster, I get two morphs that I get to choose from to stop the loading times on the PlayStation version. I choose Cyborg Smoke and I choose Cabal. I tried to get Cabal to come out, and I'd forgotten how difficult some of these morph commands were. But I was able to get out Smoke. Because, well, the thing about the Smoke command in this game is that you morph into. It's very easy to morph into Smoke while you're trying to do a fatality on somebody. No, this was one of those. I want to say it was probably my seventh PlayStation game. Like it was really early on. Like this is one of the first games I got for the console. It was like this, Symphony of the Night or Nocturne of the Moonlight if you're in Japan. Crash 2, American Crash 2. Uh, Final Fantasy 7 I had early on. Gran Turismo 2, this, and I'm looking at my shelf right here. Rayman, or Rayman 1, I had on PlayStation 1 initially. And then, of course, I got the 3X games on the PlayStation. Well, that's a whole fucking tragedy in of itself if you're at all familiar with this channel. But I don't know. I always considered this game one of the cool games in my mind. I was also a big fan of like the realistic style. I don't know. I thought, see, look, I got fucked over by the morph. Is that if you do it even slightly wrong, you'll morph into Smoke by accident. I love the sound effects in this game. It's like, kind of like a, just like I love the the fireball sound effects. The graphics I think are pretty superb. It's not as quite as pretty as UMK3 because there were some issues in the porting process from UMK3 to Trilogy. Oh, so Raiden just fucking destroyed me. I think he got a flawless victory. I don't even think I hit him once. That's what I mean, is that he will literally respond to everything that you can do, and there's nothing you can do about it. I was always a big fan of like playing Shang Tsung with like the fireballs and like I always consider like the best because he can actually turn off his morphs in this version of the game. Whereas then he can be like, hey, I don't want any low times period, or I don't want to worry about morphing. I just want to play with the fireballs. Here's the second brutality run. See, that's a great noise, like a great sound effects. So I switch over to the last character I'll be showing off in this run, Reptile, and I do beat the game with Reptile. I was thinking for a second maybe going for Ermac, but I was like, no, I used to main Reptile back in UMK3, so I'm like, well, I'll just go with him. Reptile is one of my favorite. It's probably my second favorite. I'd say Scorpion's my favorite character. Reptile would at least be in a good second place, like really strong second place. They really did a pretty good job with the Raiden stuff in this. It's a bit basic, but it's pretty. He's pretty solid. Like the launchers are great. He's like one of the best characters in Trilogy from what I remember. That's what I mean. He's really fucking aggressive. Like he will read your inputs. Like usually that always happens with the last normal opponent before the endurance round and Mataro and Shao Kahn. But my experience with MK mostly was me playing UMK3 on like the Super Nintendo at my grandparents' house. It was one of those things I was like, man, that's like these are like real people. And they actually what's digitization and all that whole shit. And I was thinking to myself, and I was blown away by it. I was like, I don't think I'd ever seen blood in a game before. Before that, I was also like 4 when I had played UMK3. Mind you, I had to have one of my cousins in the room, but to watch me play it to make sure because one of my cousins was like 14, 15, 16 at the time when I was a wee lad. Oh, one of the new mechanics in MK3 is the aggressor, also my favorite fatality. Gulp, gulp. You just straight up eat the guy. The other one is that I think you just spit acid on one of them. It was kind of a boring fatality for that second one, but this one is always great. I always love to do that fatality. So here we go with the endurance rounds. In higher difficulties, endurance rounds would actually be like 5 different characters, and I'm like, are you actually kidding me? I'm not doing master like that. It's like I'd at least need a second character with me to be able to do a fucking 5 round endurance match. It's already not exactly easy doing it fighting 2 characters at once. I always found it funny that it was that the game decided to choose like both Jacks, like the Jacks from Mortal Kombat 2 and the Jacks from MK3. After you get aggressor, you get a huge. I think it's like a 4 times stat buff, and then by the after it goes off, you still keep a 2 times for the rest of the fight. But usually aggressor's so late into a fight, it typically doesn't change the tide like that. But yeah, this game I think still looks fairly nice to me. Like it looks all right. This is kind of around the time that they don't read as much here because it's like a weird system in the arcade versions, and I would assume in this version too, because from what I remember of Trilogy, it's you do 1 or 2 matches that are fairly, I don't want to say easy, but they're not insanely fucking difficult. Also, the load time kind of fucks with you depending on what's loaded on screen at once. Here, they needed to kind of, I guess because it was an endurance round, they needed to load up the fatality because they may have had other stuff loaded in RAM at the time. But what was I talking about? I'd lost all my train of thought. Oh yeah, speaking of train of thoughts, Motaro. Motaro is, I would say he's the easiest of the three, like, super bosses. Because it's like him, Kintaro, and Goro. It's like, I'd probably tell you Goro's, I'd say still the hardest. Like, Kintaro's really, but that's because, oh, that's what I was talking about, the AI. Speaking of AI, uh, the arcade, it's like every once in a while, not every once in a while, what am I even fucking saying, guys? What, chat, what's wrong with me? But you'll have a few easy matches, and then all of a sudden the game will just start reading your inputs and make the AI really fucking difficult. I get really lucky with Motaro here. Like, I was able to predict each time he was about to do his tail. I was like, I'm a little too close, let me jump away. But, and then after you pump so many quarters in the machine trying to beat an impossible opponent, the AI goes back to like fairly brain dead. Or at least more manageable, and you beat him, and then you go on to the next guy. Either typically they'll like flip a coin and be like, well, if it's going to still be incredibly depending on how far you are up the ladder and which difficulty select you are on. If you're on novice, then the next fight will probably be pretty manageable still. Don't shoot at the horse half of Motaro with projectiles. He will deflect that back at you. But I got really lucky with that Motaro fight. He's kind of one of the ones that it's like you can just kind of jump kick, and he'll kind of eventually die. Hopefully, maybe someday. Shao Kahn in this game is a fucking beast. He's just amazing. He's a, it's like imagine him naked. Oh no, he's hot. He has the fucking hammers that he didn't have in 2. He I get really lucky. The whole thing with him is that you got to try and bait him into a projectile trade, kind of like that. As in, you bait him. I'm surprised he never went for anything after hitting me with those hammers this run. You would think he would. He didn't. But he should have. He could have. He probably would have won otherwise. But yeah, no, Shao Kahn's not bad if you know how to bait him into projectile stuff. And that was a really scary hammer. Like that hammer that I jump kick into, if I was a frame later, I would have gotten hit by that. And that's Shao Kahn, and that's the main campaign, but we're not quite done yet. It's kind of hard for me to commentate a fighting game. This is kind of just me seeing how it feels. Shao Kahn is no more. You are the MK Trilogy champion. This was like I didn't practice before this. This was me just booting up the game after a few years. So I was still surprised I was able to do it on normal. I thought I would have had to set it to very easy. Here's a reward randomly that you can get. I chose to get the bonus fight at the end with Chameleon because I wanted to show off a little bit more of Chameleon and kind of show what he's like to fight against, I guess. I think he actually stays range for the entirety of the first round. This is the Acid Pit. The Acid Pit still keeps all of the stuff it had in MK2. Like, they keep most fatality. They didn't keep the Pit 2's fatality due to the nature of that, where it used some sort of parallax scrolling of, like, the guy falling, like, forward, and they didn't want to make a bunch of new sprites for that. So they were like, well, we'll get rid of that one. As funny as that one is, where they're just flailing around in the air and dying. But, see, now he's a little bit more creative. We went into a reptile mirror match here for a few seconds. But the acid pit, everything like that still works as intended, and the pit 1's fatality still works as intended. And, of course, anything from MK1's not MK1, MK3 still works. So, like, the subway train still works. And that's the last battle. I should have done the acid pit, but it was a heat of the moment thing. It was a fairly easy one. I think it's like run, run, block, run. They'd given a few other characters some new moves in this. I maybe should have shown off maybe Kano and his Kano Ball, which is like a fucking spastic move that he had in that game, or in this game. Yeah, John Turk played like half the cast because they were all ninjas or Shang Tsung. But yeah, I always considered Trilogy one of those like nostalgic games that I really, really love and have a lot of warmth for. Um, it feels like it kind of felt like a exit stage right for like classic combat before MK4 took over, and I like MK4. And I like the little tease at the end here where it says, "Hey, MK4 is coming out in 1997." I wish more game devs would do that. It's like, "Oh, hey, next game comes out in like I don't know, a year or two." But yeah, it was nice to play this game again. Who knows? Maybe I might do maybe another arcade ladder. Maybe commentate it, maybe not. And I'll maybe practice a little bit more for say like I'll do it with I don't know, like rain or something, and I just do the roundhouse kick from hell. Because I did it once in this, but I hadn't done the roundhouse kick from hell in so long. It was just, you like kick them and they go across the screen. They go come back the other way. You kick them again. You do it at the center of the screen. You can therefore just about infinite them, I believe. It's been a while. The music in this game's pretty great. MK4 coming in 1997. But yeah, that was Mortal Kombat Trilogy. This is just a short little thing I wanted to do for shits and giggles. But yeah, um, take care. This is Kuko signing out. I'll see you in Sonic Advanced and probably tomorrow or the next day or so. Until then, take care. See ya.